I recently had the chance to play Batman Arkham Knight. While I've spent plenty of time with the earlier games in the series, this was my first time diving into Knight specifically. Similarly to the first three games, I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's not a perfect game by any measure, but it got me thinking about the series as a whole, and more importantly, how it represents games as an art form. For some context, I'm a professional game designer, and I've had the opportunity to study and discuss games as an art on numerous occasions. In this video, I want to explore the Arkham series through that lens and share why I believe it stands as a meaningful piece of interactive art. When I say the Arkham games are art, I don't just mean they look good. They absolutely do, but eye candy is not all they are. In my eyes, they are representative of all that games can do as an art medium, one that blends the visual, the audible,
Two guns, bitch!
and the interactive. The series consistently pushes these elements to their fullest, using them to immerse the player and deliver an experience that's hard to match. Not just in games, but across all forms of media. Let's break down these core concepts one by one and explore how each contributes to the series' artistic impact. Let's start with an aspect that games as a medium often tend to fail at: storytelling. What we'll frequently see in modern games is an over-reliance on text, particularly exposition, with the text often being dull and just there to move the story along as quickly as possible. This tends to bore players, especially when it's the only way they interact with the narrative. The Arkham games avoid mandatory reading like the Riddler avoids introspection. Most of what goes on both in the world and in the main story is either shown through actions or voice dialogue, and neither of these is done in just a single way either. Actions can happen through cutscenes, quick time events, or semi-interactive segments, where you're doing something simple like walking but without full control of the character. Dialogue, on the other hand, is almost omnipresent. There's radio chatter, thugs talking between each other, shit talking during combat, villain taunts when completing related quests, Batman monologues, and general cutscene discussions. So much is told to the player in a plethora of different formats, allowing us to always be connected to everything that is happening without ever needing to stop the flow of play. It's a unique format, exclusive to games, and it's used well throughout the series. Another aspect of storytelling is how we end up experiencing the story. In our case, we as Batman are almost always at the center of key events, with most encounters and cutscenes being significantly different from each other. Hallucinations, hostage situations, elaborate set pieces, and sometimes just regular old fights. The games keep you on your toes, always shifting and keeping it fresh, so you're never stuck treading the next repetitive or predictable situation. Not to mention, NPCs actively react to things that happen during the story, with new banter and conversations whenever something changes. It's not a very reactive world, but in terms of storytelling, it helps. One of my personal favorite parts of these games is the environmental storytelling. There are so many places that show what you're getting yourself into way before you learn about it in the story. From mad ramblings on the walls, to wild plants and villain paraphernalia, cells lined with symbols and names, every spot has some story to tell. Sometimes it's not related to the main story at all, it just hints at or references characters that may or may not appear. I couldn't not appreciate the amount of detail put into bringing these places to life, and giving fans like me what we love to see. It's something that's become so rare since most studios prioritize exclusively key features, with anything else being a rare bonus. This tends to leave so many games as just empty shells with little to show or appreciate. Alright, I've talked a bunch about the storytelling. Let's move on to the visual side of things. The art direction of these games is pretty simple. Realistic, desaturated graphics in a dark environment. At face value, it's nothing special. And I'm not going to advocate that it's a particularly innovative style or anything, because it's not. What it is though, is a perfect fit for a Batman game. Plain and simple. I doubt any other visual style would have fit with how dark and depressing Gotham is, and the overall direction that they decided to go with for the story. A very good direction, I might add. In this case, there's wisdom in sticking to the basics, and despite the simplicity, The Rocksteady team managed to create some fantastic looking areas and many amazing, wallpaper-worthy scenes that many people remember fondly, despite some of them being depressing as hell. The character designs also deserve some praise. Asylum was certainly a bit more cartoony than the rest, but many of the designs improved substantially over time. There was a lot of respect for the source material and the characters as a whole, which allowed for them to always match the expectations we had and keep everything consistent. The other side of the visuals is the UI, which, similarly to the visual direction, just fits very well. It's one of the things that changed quite a bit throughout the series, evolving from a shaded comic book style in Asylum to the high-tech overlays and menus we see in the later games. The comic book style was more memorable for me, but the more techy menus did add nicely to the I'm playing as a billionaire experience, and respected what was represented in the comics, so it just amplifies the overall style. It also made the game feel more professional and polished, like a significant amount of time was put into making it feel like a proper Wayne Tech interface. And it paid off. Now, let's talk about gameplay. For our purposes, I mainly want to talk about the sheer variety of activities that you're encouraged to do, and how, similarly to the many forms of storytelling, they combine to create a truly unique experience. Picture this. One moment, you'll be gliding around the streets of Arkham, searching for prey in the moonlit night. After pouncing on the prey, you'll dance around them, punching and kicking every which way until they all lie on the ground, totally not dead or concussed. Afterwards, you'll sneak into the building they were protecting, and swiftly, through the use of vents, gargoyles, gadgets, and whatever else you can find, dispatch the armed thugs. You'll move on, finding a room full of bodies scattered on the ground. Not your doing, of course. Then, through your keen mind and some futuristic gadgets, deduce the events that unfolded a few hours prior. This will then lead you to a puzzle set up by an enigmatic green fellow that you'll solve. Easily. You are the world's greatest detective after all. And finally, you'll go into a bat tank battle? Sure, that's fine too, I guess. In most games, this amount of almost entirely different activities would cause confusion and a general inconsistency in a game's identity. However, in our case, it flows quite seamlessly from one to the other. Of course, it's not perfect. Not everything flows, and not everyone enjoys all the parts. But as a combination of activities, these all work together to create the experience of being the Batman. Most interestingly of all, I at no point viewed any of the activities as more shallow than the others. Puzzles were maybe the least fleshed out, but each puzzle is so different from the next, it's hard to fault them when anything more complex would have probably killed the flow. Lastly, we come to the audio.
Fingers. Toes. How many? All of them.
The music and the sound effects in these games, just like the art, are spot on. From the bat sounds when getting new objectives, the crunchiness of every punch and kick, to the dark and brooding background and combat music that hypes you up for every battle. Most interestingly, the game shines by using silence. When you're gliding, sneaking, and just walking around, there's no music, just the atmosphere and the sounds of the area. It puts you squarely into the role of a silent predator, and emphasizes the terror the city's thugs feel towards the dark night. Most of all though, the thing that brings it all together is the phenomenal voice acting performances for every single character. There's not one point where I thought a character was wrongly cast or sounded off. I struggle to think of almost any other games that do voiceovers as well as the Arkham series. These performances make you take notice, make you root and feel for these characters, and above all else, make them feel like living, breathing people. I don't think anything else I've mentioned before this works as cohesively as it does without the glue of voice acting. The not-so-silent heroes of many games, it's only fair they get their praise.
Oh, fragis de calais.
Before we wrap up, there's one more crucial aspect of art worth mentioning. Its ability to reach all people regardless of age, background, or experience. It's what inspired me to make this video in the first place. What struck me most about Arkham Knight and the series as a whole was how universally enjoyable it is. Whether you're a kid discovering Batman for the first time, or an adult appreciating its deeper themes and mechanics, there's something here for everyone. It's the same game, but it resonates differently for everyone. And that kind of layered design is rare. The Arkham series doesn't just reach a broad audience. It offers a uniquely varied experience within that audience. Like any other piece of art, it is interpreted differently by everyone, but enjoyed just the same. When you play any of the Arkham games, it becomes clear that Rocksteady wasn't just making a game about Batman. They were crafting the experience of being Batman, of living through the weight of everything he's done and endured over decades of comic book history. These weren't just licensed games made to meet a deadline. They were made with care, passion, and a level of understanding that's increasingly rare in today's industry. Combining all the aspects we've discussed, you get a series that brings together so many different forms of art: visual, narrative, mechanical, and auditory, and uses the unique interactivity of games to elevate each one, not by emphasizing them individually, but by seamlessly integrating them into a truly cohesive experience. You might not consider the Arkham series the greatest set of games ever made. I don't either. You might not even see them as particularly exceptional. But what they are, without question, is a timeless example of what games can be when treated as an art form. And few series use the medium as fully and as meaningfully as this one does. I'd like to thank you for watching my very first essay on this channel. I plan to do many more on various gaming topics, and I hope you'll tag along. Let me know what your thoughts are on the topic we just discussed and/or anything else related. Hope to see you soon.